Hold on a minute. Before you scroll past, you need to hear this. Carlo Pernat, one of the sharpest minds in the MotoGP paddock, just said something that's got everyone talking. He said Marc Marquez is no longer the rider we used to know. Aprilia are now the team everyone fears. And Ducati? They're the ones chasing. Stick around, because we're breaking down every single word of it right now. Right, first things first, let's set the scene. The MotoGP calendar has just moved into its European phase, and the first stop was Jerez, one of the most beloved circuits on the calendar, a track with history, passion, and a crowd that genuinely lives and breathes motorsport. And according to Carlo Pernat, what happened at Jerez wasn't just another round of results. It was, in his words, a turning point in the 2026 World Championship fight. Now, on the face of it, you might look at the Jerez scoreboard and think, well, Ducati won twice, what's the problem? Marc Marquez took the sprint race victory, and his younger brother Alex won the Grand Prix. 2 wins for the Marquez family, 2 wins for Ducati machinery. Sounds decent enough, right? But here's where it gets interesting. Strip back the headline results, and the picture gets a lot messier for Ducati as a factory outfit. The official Ducati Lenovo team, the flagship squad, the one with all the resources, all the backing, all the prestige, walked away from the main race at Jerez with absolutely nothing. 0 points. Marc Marquez, riding for the factory team, crashed out. And he crashed out because of his own mistake. Not because of a mechanical failure, not because someone ran into him. He simply got it wrong. And then there's Pecco Bagnaia, the man who was supposed to be Ducati's great hope. He's still fighting the same demons that plagued him last season. No sign of a breakthrough. No sign of the old Pecco who looked virtually unbeatable at his peak. Pernat looked at all of this and reached a pretty clear conclusion. Aprilia are now ahead, and the gap, quietly but steadily, is growing. Let's talk about Aprilia properly, because this is genuinely one of the most remarkable stories in recent MotoGP history, and it deserves more than a passing mention. Not too many years ago, Aprilia were the team people politely described as punching above their weight. They were the plucky underdogs, the ones you'd root for but never really expect to win championships. The paddock respected their effort, but nobody genuinely feared them on a Sunday afternoon when the lights went out. Fast forward to 2026, and that narrative is completely and utterly gone. Pernat laid out the numbers plainly. Aprilia have won 3 Grand Prix from the first 4 rounds of the season. 3 from 4. That is not a hot streak. That is a pattern. That is a team that has figured something out that the rest of the field is still scrambling to understand. At Jerez specifically, 4 Aprilia machines finished inside the top 6. Think about what that actually means. That's half the top 6 taken up by a single manufacturer. That's not a team riding their luck. That's a team with genuine depth, genuine pace, and a technical package that is clearly working across multiple riders with different styles and different strengths. The 2 headline acts, of course, are Marco Bezzecchi and Jorge Martin, and Pernat had quite a lot to say about both of them. On Bezzecchi, he was almost gushing, which, if you know Pernat, is quite something. He called him the most complete rider on the current MotoGP grid, not one of the best, the most complete. Consistent lap after lap, race after race, composed under pressure, aggressive when he needs to be, patient when the situation demands it, and with that slightly cold, calculated hunger that separates riders who win occasionally from riders who are genuinely dangerous every single weekend. Bezzecchi is currently leading the championship, and the way he's going about it, he doesn't look like someone who's about to give it up without a serious fight. Then there's Jorge Martin. Now, Martin's story this season is one that even Pernat admitted he didn't fully see coming. After the heartbreak of the previous season, and look, if you followed that title fight, you'll know exactly how brutal the ending was for him. Martin could have crumbled. A lot of riders would have. The confidence shatter, the self-doubt creeps in, and suddenly the talent that was always there gets buried under the weight of what might have been. But that hasn't happened. Martin came back to Aprilia this season, and by all accounts, he looks reborn. The bike suits him. The team believes in him. And he's riding with the kind of edge that suggests he's got a point to prove. He's currently second in the standings, just 11 points off Bezzecchi. In championship terms, that is nothing. That is one bad race away from being level. This title fight between the 2 Aprilia men is going to run and run. And that's before you even get to Raul Fernandez and Ai Ogura. who are both putting in quietly impressive performances and making sure that Aprilia's strength isn't just concentrated at the top. The whole system, as Pernat put it, is working beautifully. Right, here's the part you've been waiting for. Marc Marquez. Carlo Pernat did not hold back, and in fairness to him, he wasn't cruel about it either. He wasn't sitting there taking pot shots at a rider he dislikes. This read more like a doctor giving a realistic diagnosis. Not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. His central argument is this: the Marc Marquez we are watching in 2026 is not the same Marc Marquez that dominated the sport for years, racked up world title after world title, and seemed to operate on a completely different plane from the rest of the field. And his reasoning is actually quite nuanced. Pernat acknowledged everything Marquez went through. The horrific injuries, the long rehabilitation, the enormous upheaval of leaving Honda after so many years, the challenge of adapting to an entirely new motorcycle in a new team environment. He didn't dismiss any of that. He actually used it to explain what we saw from Marquez last season, which by any objective measure was extraordinary. His point was that last year Marquez was running on something extra, that rare, almost supernatural reserve that only the very greatest champions can access when they're backed into a corner. When their pride, their legacy, and their love of the sport are all on the line at once. He gave everything he had and then some. It was remarkable to watch. But Pernat's argument is that you can't sustain that level of intensity indefinitely. The body recovers, yes, but that burning edge, that almost reckless all or nothing intensity, it mellows. It has to. And without it, Marquez is still a supremely talented rider. But he's no longer operating at that transcendent level that made him look untouchable. The evidence is there in the results. He's making mistakes he wouldn't have made at his peak. He's struggling to find consistent pace across a full race weekend. He crashed at Jerez through his own error, in a race he absolutely needed to finish well in. And to his enormous credit, he's not making excuses. He's acknowledged it. He knows he's in a difficult moment. But, and this is Pernat's key point, knowing you're in a difficult moment is one thing. Clawing your way back to the front when Bezzecchi and Martin are both riding like this is an entirely different challenge. These aren't riders who are going to give you an inch. They're not going to have a collective off day and hand you results on a plate. Marquez is going to have to earn every single point from here. Is he finished? Absolutely not. But is this going to be as straightforward as some people assumed heading into the season? Based on everything we've seen so far? No, not even close. Let's talk about Ducati, the institution, for a moment, because the story here goes beyond just the Marquez situation. Pernat was measured but firm. The 2025 and 2026 Ducati machines simply aren't as good as the 2024 bike. That 2024 Ducati was, by many accounts, one of the most dominant motorcycles in the modern era of MotoGP. It was fast, it was forgiving, it worked for multiple riders in multiple conditions. It was the kind of package that makes a championship look almost inevitable. The current bike doesn't have that quality. Riders are in constant dialogue. And Pernat used the word debate, which is a loaded word in this context, with technical director Gigi Del Igna trying to find the direction that will unlock the performance they need. As of Jerez, they haven't found it yet. This is a humble position for a team that spent years looking like an unstoppable force. But it's also a reminder of something fundamental about the sport. The moment you stop developing, the moment you assume your advantage is permanent, the competition catches you and overtakes you. Aprilia didn't overtake Ducati overnight. They've been building steadily, learning, improving, and now the fruits of all that work are sitting right there at the top of the standings. Ducati will respond. They always do. But right now, they are chasing. One more name that Pernat brought up, and it's one that's going to sting for a lot of loyal fans: Yamaha. His verdict was stark. Yamaha have completely dropped out of the competitive picture. In his view, they are the weakest manufacturer on the grid right now. And what makes the situation even more concerning is the news that they recently turned down a new chassis that was put forward as a potential step forward. For Pernat, that decision speaks volumes. It suggests that something within Yamaha's technical structure and decision-making isn't functioning properly. You don't turn down a new development option unless there's serious internal disagreement, confusion, or a fundamental difference of opinion about which direction to go. For riders like Fabio Quartararo, A former world champion, a genuinely exceptional talent. This is a deeply frustrating situation. You can only work with what you're given, and right now, Yamaha aren't giving their riders enough to work with. So let's bring all of that together. What Carlo Pernat has essentially told us is this: the 2026 MotoGP season has already been turned on its head, and we're only a handful of rounds in. Aprilia, the team nobody tipped to be here, are leading the championship and producing the most consistently impressive racing we've seen from any manufacturer this year. Bezzecchi and Martin are locked in a two-way battle at the top that could genuinely go all the way to the final round. Marc Marquez, for all his brilliance, is in a difficult moment and facing a steeper climb than perhaps any of us anticipated. Ducati are searching for answers they haven't found yet, and Yamaha are in a hole that looks like it's going to take serious time and serious decisions to get out of. This season is alive. Every round matters. Every point counts. And the next few races are going to tell us an enormous amount about whether these early trends are going to hold or whether we're about to see another twist in the tail. Now, before you go, I want to hear from you, genuinely. And after everything we've just broken down, who do you think lifts the 2026 MotoGP World Championship trophy at the end of the season? Is it Bezzecchi riding the form of his life on that brilliant Aprilia? Is it Martin, the man with the score to settle and the hunger to match? Or do you still believe in Marc Marquez, that somewhere inside him that old fire is still burning and it's only a matter of time before it lights up again? Drop your pick in the comments. Start the debate. Tell me why you're right and why everyone who disagrees with you is wrong. That's what the comments section is for. And if this video was worth your time, and I genuinely hope it was, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with whoever in your life is equally obsessed with MotoGP. The more people in the conversation, the better the conversation gets. We'll be back soon with more. Until then, stay fast, stay sharp, and never miss a corner.